Welcome to Setting Up Conductor. For today's session, we are going to walk through a conductor installation. Just for a refresher, the conductor is the tempered orchestration engine for all Airwall Services, or you could consider it to be the management console as well. It can be deployed on a variety of different platforms, hardware in the cloud, which includes AWS, GCP, and Azure. It can also be deployed in virtual environments. Examples of this would be VMware, Hyper-V, and KVM. The conductor manages all trust with a zero trust philosophy in mind. It has a simple web UI that requires no advanced training. It enables fast Airwall provisioning and has overlay policies based on crypto IDs. Let's get started. We're picking up this session where we would have left off after deploying the conductor on one of these supported platforms from before. After you get it on the network, you will either HTTPS to the URL or HTTPS to the IP address of the conductor. As you can see in the top left, mine is 192.168.19.216. As you can see here, we land on the initial conductor provisioning page. This is where we will enter the conductor voucher and the conductor voucher only. Prior to getting the voucher and installing this, you would have received the voucher from the tempered sales operation. They would have sent that along to you. Now you can provision the conductor in two different ways. The first method is what we call the secure offline method. This is when the conductor does not have internet access. We sometimes call it here at Tempered the dark conductor. It's very popular for very secure environments, along with something like a SCADA environment. If you need this secure offline method for provisioning, the first thing you're going to do here is enter the voucher that you would have received. So we're going to go ahead and copy and paste that. Even though it's offline, we are still going to go ahead and copy and paste that. Then the second thing we're going to do here is click the Enable Secure Offline Sync button. And then what we're going to do is export that encrypted package. So we're going to export this file, and then we're going to send this file along to support, and you can send that along to them at support@tempered.io. And once they perform their necessary process, they will go ahead and send back the encrypted license package, and then you will go ahead and import that particular file. And then once you have done that, you will have vouchered the conductor only at that point. And so then the second method, and it is definitely the most popular method, is to enter the voucher code. So we'll leave that voucher code there and just select provision now. And this is for all internet connected conductors. This way the conductor is going to reach out to our license server, and once it reaches out to our license server, it is then going to go ahead and voucher just the conductor only. The Airwall Services area, so the agents, the Airwall gateways, etc., are vouchered in a different section, in a different tab of the conductor once you log in. And so once we do that, we're going to go ahead and go back to the conductor itself. Let's go ahead and go back. And what we just saw a second ago was the certificate message. And the reason we saw that is initially we utilize a self-signed cert. However, if you have your own certs, you can go ahead and import those in a different section. Once we get the conductor up and running, you can go ahead and do that. So the initial username will be admin, and the initial password for this could be different depending on the platform that you installed the conductor on. If you used hardware or hardware appliance or platform or a virtual conductor, the password will be admin123. And then for the cloud deployments, it will completely vary on the cloud platform that you have installed it on. We are utilizing the virtual conductor, so we are going to go ahead and utilize admin123. So for ours, it's going to be admin and admin123. So we'll go ahead and log in. And the next thing we'll see is the prompt to change that initial password. So again, for ours, admin123. And then if we go ahead and create a new system admin password, and hopefully we typed it correctly. Perfect, we did. So I will go ahead and for our configuration, we are going to leave the default settings. The conductor can be either a DHCP or static IP address. Deciding whether it is a static or a DHCP would have been done during the installation on the selected platform before we picked it up this session. The conductor, as you can see here, has two different network adapters. So you can configure user access, which we're doing here, the HTTP access, separate from the Airwall map connection, which is utilized to manage the Airwall services. So we are just going to leave it all in one here. So if we go ahead and hit configure, wait a second here, and we will return to the conductor, and then we will land on the general settings page. So if we go ahead and click that, now we are landing on the general settings tab. If we take a quick look around here, we see what firmware version we're utilizing. We can see the host name, the serial number, the IP adapter information. We can also see some drive usage, temp usage, and memory usage can all be found here. The first thing I like to do is if the conductor has internet access, I want to go ahead and we'll try this again. We will go ahead and check for firmware updates. I want to see if there's newer versions out there, new firmware versions, and as we showed there, there is a conductor one out there, and there's also a hotfix out there. And we will show the firmware updates for the Airwall services that you have licensed and provisioned. We don't have any others licensed and provisioned yet, so we will only see the additional firmware for the conductor. Normally, I would probably go ahead and download these and then upgrade the conductor and then put the hotfixes on as well. But for today's session, we're going to go ahead and leave that alone and leave that for another session. But the first thing I like to do once we've done that is go ahead and set up the NTP server for the system time. If we scroll down here as we saw and we click on this, by default, the NTP server is not enabled. So if we go ahead and enable that, we can go ahead and copy and paste one of the many public NTP servers out there. Now, if you have one or two of your own internal NTP servers, you could go ahead and insert those and just separate them by a comma. So now that we're done with that, the next thing I like to do initially is go ahead and set up the email settings for alerts, notifications, and things along those lines. So let me take a minute here, and I'm going to copy and paste some of these email settings that I have. So it's going to take me a second. Bear with me. Go ahead and get the sender. I am in the Eastern time zone of the US, so I'll go ahead and pick that. We want to log in with a username and password. So I'll copy the username and then the password. and then we'll utilize TLS, and we are selecting none. So if I go ahead and validate those settings, and what we're going to want to do after that is send out a test email. So we see here this little pop-up saying we've lost connectivity. That's just really quickly once we set up certain parameters, and specifically it's for the email edit settings as well. So once that comes back online, we're just going to go ahead and send out a test email. And what we're going to do, we are going to send it to myself. And I want to send this out to make sure not only that the configuration parameters are okay, but that it didn't end up in a spam folder. So once we receive that, that email, test email, will look like this. Now we are going to install the Airwall Services vouchers. Airwall Services include Airwall gateways, either hardware, cloud, or virtual, includes our agents, servers, and relays. From the General Settings tab here in the Conductor, we are going to go ahead and click on the Licensing tab. And as you see, we do not have any licenses yet. So we are going to go ahead and enter or copy and paste the Airwall Services voucher that you would have received from, again, Tempered Sales Operations. So I will go ahead and click on Enter, and I will copy and paste my voucher. And what it is doing now, it is reaching out to our license server. So it has to have internet access at this point. So it's reaching out to our license server, and it is syncing up with our license server to see the Airwall Services vouchers that you have. Now, if you had multiple vouchers, you would have done those one at a time. If you are using the secure offline for vouchering, and you need to use secure offline here as well, this is when the conductor does not have internet access or access to the internet. You will have to follow a similar process as we did before when we were going to provision the conductor. If you look here and you would click the enable offline mode, then you would have something similar. As I mentioned, you now have the ability to export the package, the encrypted package, and then import the encrypted package, just as we did before. And once you import that, then you will see the additional vouchers for the Airwall Services. But for ours, we went ahead and did the online, so we are going to go ahead and disable that. So now that if we disable that, we can look back over here and we will see which Airwall Services we have license for, the total number that we have license for, the ones, how many we have in use, how many are available or left, and then ultimately whether it's the expiration date or the renewal date. Over time, you could have also received multiple vouchers for any of these Airwall services. So if we look at something like this Airwall 110G here, and if we expand it, you will see then the account, the license type, whether it's subscription or perpetual, and again, the expiration date of that as well. So that's another way that you could see additional ones. And then you could also have licenses added on top to an existing voucher. And in that case, if you purchase additionals, then sales operations would go ahead and expand that voucher, and they would then say, go ahead and do a full sync. And so the full sync would actually reach out to our license server and synchronize that as well. So then you would have new totals, new available things along those lines. That's it. We're done. And you can find additional and advanced settings within our web help page. Thank you for taking the time, and I will speak to you in another tempered training session.